Okay, we're back. I didn't realize I was back. This game is not. This is not an insurmountable thing. The teal player could come back. The other player's more experienced than him right now, but at this moment in time, the teal player could come back. There's nothing saying he couldn't. The teal player needs to make a little bit more workers. I don't like the fact that he only has 15 out of 24 workers. People say, you should only have 15 workers per base so you don't mine out quicker. Yeah, that's fine if you're not doing a one base build. If you're doing a one base build, you need all the money you can get, so you should have it maxed out, and then take your expansion as soon as you believe that you're not going to be under attack by your enemy. Um, he needs to move these forward. He does this proxy pylon. Did you notice that the sentries actually attacked themselves a second ago? So the blue player is actually hurting himself here. If we go back to units lost, still favoring the blue player, but by less now, only 75 minerals. He should be pushing this attack with the stalkers. With micro, he can do more damage here. But he is falling behind in the food count, and the longer this game goes on where he doesn't make probes, he's falling further behind because his income, if we look at it, his income is 200 minerals per minute less than the blue player. So you can't. He needs to be attacking these zealots. Obviously, that's unsavable, or he needs to be target firing the Phoenix, whichever he feels is the bigger threat. I would personally target fire the Sentry, but I am a Zerg player and I hate force fields. That's just me. When I send Zerglings in, and I have roaches, like I said, like exactly like I said before, I hold Shift, I queue up the Sentry, kill them all. I just you just grab like two of them, Shift, click, click. When you have an army, and they'll kill those Sentry for you. That way, even if my army dies, at least I've killed a Sentry. Don't have to worry about force fields next time I engage. We're now see a 300 income differential per minute. So every minute he's getting 300 minerals behind. What we need, the teal player's falling. He's now behind 10 workers. He's falling behind too much in the worker count. He really needs to get a lot more workers out. Even if it is taking both of these, at this point, I would have both of these rallied to his natural, and I'd be pumping out more probes and chrono boosting them, because that's the only thing. But he has this really scary army in the middle of the map. Neither of them grabbed any of the towers, mind you, which is something they could have done to give them a little more map control. Oh yeah, Rhage knows I hate sentries. He knows I hate sentries, as I bitched about them for like 20 minutes earlier today. At least 20 minutes. Now, if we look at the income again, I'm surprised the gap is that small. Only 150 minerals when he's 11 workers behind. But he's falling further and further behind, and he's lost his entire army, as we can see by the food count. The blue Protoss player is doubling the food count of the teal Protoss player, which isn't good. So the teal Protoss player really needs to be making army, because he should definitely be scared with the fact that the blue has such a scary army comparatively to him. But on the other hand, the teal player also needs to recognize that he needs to get his fucking economy going, or he's going to lose. If he doesn't have the income necessary, he's going to get destroyed. He just lost that Void Ray. He's going to lose another Void Ray. He is doing the correct thing here and running his Void Ray to the cannons. The unfortunate part here is that I believe... Nope, it doesn't look like he does not have the extra range upgrade for the Phoenix. He was just going to kill that Void Ray regardless. Now, the food count, like I say, it is vastly so. Basically, the way that the blue Protoss player has played and the Zerg player from last round, which was the blue Protoss player, what he has been doing is he's been playing a kind of conservative style. He's not pushing in where maybe he could lose his army, though he could end the game right now with this army. There is literally no way that our teal player could hold this army off right now. But he's not pushing in, he's playing conservatively, he has a lead, and he knows that he has the lead because he's made the opponent lose, 2,000 more minerals than him, so he knows that he doesn't have the army, and then when he flew into his base, he knows that he doesn't have the saturation that he does. Look, we've got 12 workers here and 20 workers here, so we've got almost 2 bases full saturation, whereas here we have 1 base full saturation, another base with almost no saturation. So... he's asking me what he should go. So he is dragging the game out too. He could end the game, he knows it. He's dragging it out just a little bit. He's taking his third behind this, which is always good if you're floating minerals and you have this much of a lead. But what he's doing is he's sitting on his lead, and he's still harassing the other player. So he's not being idle doing nothing. He's harassing the other player, making sure that the other player doesn't catch up economically, and then he's just making sure he sits on his lead, he knows he has a lead, and he's keeping the lead. So as long as he doesn't piss away the lead by making any really stupid mistakes like throwing his army away, which could happen. He has zealots which could lose to stalkers with micro. He could throw away his army if he was stupid with it. He threw away a couple of phoenixes earlier to flying over the cannons. But as long as he just sits back, harasses, wastes the teal player's APM, and sits on his lead, as we see from the income differential, which is now 20 some probes, so we can see there's a 600 income per minute differential. And the teal player's banking 1,000 minerals, but the blue player is also banking a pretty good amount of minerals. But the blue player has better map control. I mean, if the teal player wants to move out anywhere through the center of the map, he's going to get seen. The blue player has done a lot better job on scouting. He constantly has these phoenixes over top here. You know what they say, when behind Dark Shrine, does our blue Protoss player have any way to defend this? He doesn't, actually. This could be a way to get back in the game. So see, this is what you have to do when you're behind. You have to take risk to get back into the game. If he had any cannons here, this probably fails. But he has no cannons, so let's go ahead and look at the units lost tab. We're going to see how quickly he gets caught up. Yes, the blue player responds quickly, but how many probes is he already lost? If we go to the... I need to learn the hotkeys for this. If we go to the units killed... workers killed for teal now, 35, 39. 40 workers killed. That's quite 42 workers killed. That's a ton of workers killed, and he has no way of defending this right now. He shouldn't. I don't think he should be targeting this pylon here. The pylon, it unpowers one gateway, which is hardly in use. He does see his tech path, so now he knows carriers are coming out. But he wasn't. You know, he just disabled one gateway. To me, it would have been more use to kill the Nexus. That way, the Protoss player has to completely rebuild the Nexus before he can, which he is trying to do here, and he's not going to be able to do as long as this gets enough energy for Revelation. Envision. I take that back. Envision. So he did kill it. He didn't lose, but you know, if he had attacked both of these Nexuses, he may have done something. But 45 workers killed. If we go back, the worker count is now favoring the teal player. So the teal player now has the better economy. So this is where he can start catching up in the game. If I was the blue player does have 4 Nexuses, which means he can make a lot more probes and catch back up. But that is exactly what the teal player needed to do to get back into this game. So now we're going to see the teal player moving out with his army. I don't know that if I like this decision. He will be able to pick up a couple of these zealots. I hope he has blink. He does have blink. But against these carriers, he's going to have to target fire these carriers, and that's a scary force for pure stalkers to take out. Although he does have the DTs as well, he needs to target fire the carriers. Is he target firing the carriers? I think he's getting chewed up by these zealots. I haven't looked at the upgrades. It's 1-0 compared to 1-1. So the teal player actually has the better upgrades, but the teal player got eaten up in that engagement. That was not a good engagement for the teal player. So we can see he just pissed away that entire army. Zealots do a lot of DPS. Stalkers can kite them, yes, but you don't want to... I mean, he was trying to target fire this carrier, which has a lot of health, but you don't want to do that and let the zealots attack you. You need to take an engagement where you're not getting hit by the zealots if you want to engage these carriers. So what he should have done is he should have blinked back his army and just tried to kill as many zealots as he could there, rather than trying to attack the carrier and then losing all of his stalkers. As we can see, if we go to the army tab, no army for the teal player. So the teal player likes to use, and this will help you out, Gabby, if you're still here watching, he likes to use a lot of static D in his mineral lines. As you can see, there's a little bit of oversaturation here. He could have sent these here first. There's one zealot who's just scouting to see if the other player has a third. And now we're seeing a couple of zealots come in from the teal player to kill. Oh, he got the pylon and there was no cancel, so that zealot was cost effective. He killed a pylon, so that was fine. It was a scout and it was cost effective. We now see the phoenixes, which have been a threat the entire game because he hasn't been able to kill them. Yes, the blue Protoss player is not making any more phoenixes, but he hasn't been able to kill these off, and so he's just going to kill a couple more probes. He's going to keep that harassment up the entire game, make sure he keeps his edge, although he was caught unprepared. So the blue player, what he could learn from this is to be prepared for DTs. You know that when another Protoss player is behind, they're going to DT. I also have to say the teal player here is oversaturated only by 1, but he doesn't have any workers on either of these gases, and he's also floating a lot of minerals. Something that could help him against these zealots. Archons, always a good unit. They have a little bit of splash damage, enough to hit 2 zealots, and they're pretty bulky, so they could tank pretty well, especially against zealots, and they can attack air. Now, if we go back to the unit menu, we can now see that blue has retaken the Probe League base. So teal didn't capitalize as much as he should have on the kills that he made, and he lost an entire army. So teal still pretty far behind in this game, especially now that he's allowing the blue player to probe back up, and he's not properly splitting his probes. He's now got idle workers here, and he's got too many probes here without any on the second gases here, and he isn't making more. If we look at the production, he does have 2 probes in production. All of his nexuses should be rally pointed to these minerals over here, but we can see that the blue Protoss player over here is much better. You see he does have 14 out of 24 here, and 16 out of 24 here. That's fine when you have 3 mining bases, but when you only have 1 or 2 mining bases and you're behind in the game, go ahead, get the 24 on there, because you need to make a miracle happen. I'm going to look at the upgrades again. If we look at the upgrades again, we can see that we have 1-2, whereas we have 1-0, but since he's going for air units now, yes, we can see we have 1-2 on the air units. So actually it's the shield upgrade he got, and shield upgrade from the Forge affects both air and ground units. So if you know you're going to use ground units, get the shield upgrade. Or if you know you're going to use Archons because they have a whopping 350 shield. We can see he's continuing to go with the pure Stalker composition. I don't know if I agree with that. These are capital ships. They're bad against Void Rays. So Void Rays and Stalkers might have been a better mix. And if he had been getting gas from all 3 of his bases the entire time that he is on 3 bases, Archons would have been a good match against this Zealot ground and air unit, because none of these really have a bonus against those. I think the teal player needs to blink away. There we go. Blinks away. But he already did lose a few of his Stalkers there, so a few of his Stalkers did get picked off. These carriers, while they are slow, do a lot of damage, 7 damage per interceptor, and they have, let me count them here, I think that's 8 interceptors if I am not blind. It's a little hard to catch it, a little fuzzy when they're moving. We look at the units, we see that the blue Protoss player is still well ahead, but we see the teal player is going for the same thing again. He has another proxy pylon off at the middle base, and he's going to get those around and he's going to cause some damage. So this is exactly what you need to do in this situation. You need to try to pick some probes off or pick some infrastructure off. If he could have got these in the main, although there's carriers there, so that wouldn't have been useful, but he could have maybe, pick off the Templar Archives, even though he has 2 Twilight Councils. Or since he knows that the opponent's going carriers, he could kill some of these Stargates off. He's not causing as much damage as he has to. We can see that the blue Protoss player now has some Archons, so that's not going very good. He caused some drone damage. He killed a couple more drones, but not enough to get himself back in the lead. Not a good idea or engagement from the teal player again. Another trick you can do, Rhage, since I just noticed that you warped down half of your Stalkers and half of them didn't blink with you, you hold shift, tell them to move to the edge, and then continuing to hold shift, tell them to blink down the edge. That way they'll move, blink, and they will do it in an entire line instead of just moving them to the edge manually and then hitting B. Shift them up, tell them to move there before they blink. That'll force the Stalker to move to the point where you tell them to move before they blink, and they'll all blink down the cliff. So that's a quick tip in case you ever need to escape again. It takes a little practice. Another thing that's really bad, if we look at this player is banking all of his Chrono Boost. Not good. Chrono Boost is excellent. You can use it on your warp gates. You're floating 2,000 minerals. First of all, you should probably take another Nexus, but as soon as you warp in units, you can use Chrono Boost on warp gates. You could have, when you warp in these units here, cast Chrono, over here, Chrono. So that way you can warp in another set of units quicker. It's not the best way to use Chrono Boost, so we can see the Brew Protoss player also is banking a lot, but he is also maxed out on food. And he should be using it on his upgrades. If he doesn't have all upgrades, he pretty much has all the upgrades he wants. And you see he is using Chrono Boost on the upgrades here. Should have another Cybernetics core. Only one Cybernetics core, but he's almost on 3-3. So he's now going to donate his Zealots. Although these Zealots are still going to cause a lot of damage just because the blue player is so far ahead. This game is over, but we'll keep going until one of them says GG. But Teal, really good job on doing the Dark Templars, man. That was a good idea. It got you back in the game. Now, you know, unfortunately, you're already at you know, this game was a bit biased because I'm not trying to be mean, but like the other player is probably more experienced than you. So the game is a little biased against you, but you did exactly what you needed to do to get back in the game when you had the chance, and that was to do some type of harassment and kill some of his drones off, which is exactly what you didn't do last game at all as Zerg. You knew he had the economic advantage. You knew he went 2 hatcheries before a pool. And then you didn't do some sort of something to attack him, to kill one of the hatcheries or something. You know, if he's going to do that, you respond with a 4-gate. And then do a 4-gate into expand. Kill one of his hatcheries if you can. And if you don't want to do that, respond with oracles. Do some type of harassment, which is what you did this game. And you tried, although not successfully later on, to get some zealots in there. But we can see the Protoss player just did a lot. The blue Protoss player did a lot of things better. He still has these Phoenixes alive, and those allowed him to scout and see what his opponent was doing the entirety of the game. He has a better army composition in the end. He has better upgrade count in the end. And what was really important is that he maintained a probe advantage through the entire game because he continued to pump probes at the beginning of the game instead of stopping at 14 out of 24, which would be a good idea if you have 3, like I said, 3 or 4 mining bases. Is to spread your probes out is a good idea. But when you're on one base, you really just need to fully saturate anyways. And then when your other nexus finishes, that's when you grab half of them and move them to your next base. When you do decide to expand. So if you're going to do a 4-gate, do a 4-gate, get that 24 workers, and then when you expand, move, 14 of those workers down to the other base. We still have these Phoenixes running around. I'm pretty sure at this point he's just donating them, just like he did the Zealots, because he wants to remax on carriers. In typical Sebastian fashion, he is drawing the game out as long as possible, which is making it harder for my raspy, dry neck to continue casting. But the Teal player did a lot of things right, but there's a lot of things he could have done better. He lost a lot of army in stupid engagements. And he also kept himself behind the entire game, worker-wise, which being behind worker-wise, if you're behind worker-wise, that's fine. If you're going to do a type of all-in and destroy your opponent, that's a thing that a lot of Zergs get caught up in, is they'll drone, and then they just die because they drone too heavy. I die like that all the time. They drone too much, and the other person can stop making drones, make a huge attack them, kill them. But if you're going to sit, be passive, not do any type of harassment, you have to continue to make probes the entire game, or every minute that you don't make these probes, you're falling further and further behind. Not exactly the quickest reaction time here against these 6 Stalkers or whatever that he's donating. Bonk in there, he sees the Void Rays, he's going to target fire down one of those Void Rays. Is he going to get the other one? He's not going to get that Void Ray. That was a good engagement for Teal, but only because Blue allowed it to be a good engagement for Teal. Unfortunately, all upgrades, 3/3 upgrades, as well as level 3 shields, and now starting to get ground weapons upgrades are completed for our Blue Protoss player. He's now donating everything else he has on the ground. And like I say, in typical Sebastian manner, pulling the match out as long as possible while torturing his opponent's sanity. Oh, I really should just take a break now because this game's not going to be over anytime soon. He's now using an Oracle to harass. He's using all of his units Basically, if you want to think of it as, APM isn't, the greatest measure of how good you are at StarCraft. Got all your God's gift to StarCraft because you have higher APM. That's not true. But I do like to think of StarCraft in terms of, if you have, say someone has a set amount of actions they can do. If you force them to use more, if you do things that force them to use more actions to react to that, then you can gain the advantage. Because if you think about it, when a player is using too much APM, first of all, it makes them tired. Second of all, so you're exhausting them. He should transfer some of these workers down to his 4th base as well as take this 5th base, by the way. But, if they have a set amount of APM and you do something as simple as that, I tell this Oracle to go here, I'm holding shift, just move here, tell him to turn on his things here, his prismatic beam or whatever it's called, and kill these probes here. And then the Protoss player, if he does it at the main at the same time, then the Protoss player has to split his army and attack on 2 fronts at the same time. It's not that hard for the attacking player because they just hit A and click on that spot with 2 different groups. But for the defending player, it might be a little bit harder to defend, and you're wasting the limited amount of APM they have, thus giving you an advantage. I think Rage uses a bit too much static defense because each of these is 150 minerals. So each of these cannons that he has is another Zealot that he could have, or almost another Stalker he could have for every cannon. And to be honest, I'd rather have Stalkers on patrol behind my mineral lines than cannons anyways. Once you get upgrades, and cannons don't get the upgrades like the other units do, whereas, here he's got 3-2. If he had a Stalker, versus Armored's doing 17, has an attack speed of 1.4, yeah, that's a little bit slower than the cannon, that's a little bit weaker than the cannon, but you can then use those in your army when necessary too. If you need to, you can pull these back. And maybe 2 cannons back here, I don't have a problem with. When he has, 3 cannons in the front, or 4 cannons behind these gateways. Against a Zerg player, that's always good. You're going to have Zerglings, but against a Zerg player, he could have moved these pylons up and completely blocked this ramp with gateways, opened up the rocks on both sides, and then completely blocked this ramp with gateways as well, and then have cannons behind the gateways. Really good way to stop any run-bys from happening. Just block it off with gateways and then have cannons behind it. Zerglings take a while to break gateways, so it buys you time to pull your army back and stop it, and also the cannons are going to be sitting there picking them off the whole time. And that's not a terrible thing to do. If you break the rocks, you still have a pretty simple path between your bases. Fairly the same size as moving around out front. We now going to see what I believe is going to be the final engagement. He's going to get chewed up by these, and the storms going off. The storms are killing the Void Rays, which are clumped up quite well too. Oh, the Void Rays melted to those storms. And yes, we're going to see GG finally come out from that final engagement. But what happened that game? The Teal did a lot of things right, but he needed to drone heavier, and he needed to capitalize on his opportunities when he did have a chance. When it was either early in the game or after he caused that Dark Templar attack. If he had Blink, he could have just sent some Stalkers to harass. Like 3 Stalkers, get them behind his minerals, attack some stuff, and then warp away. Oh god, he has much more mental endurance than I do. I don't have the mental endurance to play this many games that are that long in a row um, in such a manner. Now I need to look for a decent map. That's a 2 versus 2 map. I don't even know some of these maps, to be honest. Jeez, I literally don't know these maps. Well, let's do Whirlwind. Let's do Whirlwind LE. because you know what? That's another real big macro-oriented map, which is the kind of map, you know, if I'm casting the games, I'm picking what you're going to play. You're going to play macro-oriented maps because that's the games I like to see. Even though lately with Zerg, I've been going like really all-in-y on the Zerglings. Probably why I'm losing to all-in-y. Gotta do the create button, not the join button. Haha, that was my problem. I was confused there for a second. Holy shit. I could drink some water. I'm all out of breath. Dude, unmoderated, you'd know I would destroy you at this game. There's no point in even playing. I could literally beat you with only drones. You're being casted like a pro. Maybe I should talk more in my Rage voice so that I can be sexy. Okay, anyways, are we ready? Okay, let me catch my breath while this game is muted. Oh well, it's not muted while it's beginning. Okay. We'll put a teal Protoss player and an orange Terran player. Sebastian always plays orange Terran. And he probably, you know, if I watch all of his games, I bet he always plays the same colors for each race. If you really want to mindfuck someone in StarCraft, you take their color. Because some people don't care about color. I mean, I always play ally color, so I'm always green to myself. I always see green, and the enemy is red. But some people care about the certain color. You want to get in somebody's head, man. They always pick pink. Take pink from them. Up here in the 2 o'clock position, or 1 o'clock position, upper right hand position, we have our orange Terran Star, who's up 2-0 in this best of 5. Phobos over here, and not quite the cross position. In the top left position, we have our teal Protoss player, who's currently down 0-2 Rage. Now they're both having the pleasantries at the beginning of the game. Good luck, have fun. Good luck, have fun. GG. Deja vu. Deja vu that it would come down to the same map that I made them play last time, and they would have the same races where he was Terran again. That's actually a pretty sophisticated line. Oh lord, Rage gets it too. Took a second. Did I really say 898? That's just like stream name. I don't think I said that. Unmod, you're a little asshole. Anyways, why do you do this, Jimmy? As in Jimmy Rayner. So now we see he's going to go barracks first. He's not going to go expansion first. Either of these players, he knows this mech style build. It's not going to be any different from the last time he did this build. Rage could literally have gone Nexus first this game with no repercussions. If he watched the replay, and I think he watched the replay last time, he could have known that this build is not going to be one. It'll attack with Hellions relatively early, but he would be perfectly fine going Nexus, going Pylon, and then like 15 or 16 Nexus, and then getting a gateway, and building his gateways down here, and then just getting a couple of Stalkers out and blocking the Hellions. But he opted not to do that. He opted not to go Nexus first. I don't think I've ever seen Rage go Nexus first, to be honest. Instead, he's going to go with a very typical gateway into assimilator build. If we look at it, Rage is actually slightly ahead on the probe count, which is what you expect to see in the Protoss early game. Because they have these Chrono Boosts will allow their workers to be built quicker. Whereas once this orbital gets finished, it's not really going to matter that the Terran has less mine workers, because that Buell is going to mine so much minerals so quickly that it's going to offset the fact that he's behind 3 workers. The probe got in. He does have a scout off in his enemy's base, so he does know he's going to lose his probe here. Well, I'm tired, I guess. The Terran player is not pushed out of his base at all yet, but he is slightly behind on the workers, but like I say, once he gets mules, it's not going to matter, because these mules are to account for so much income. Look at that thing. Look at that thing just destroy those minerals. Wait till he pops out. It's going to be like 40 minerals a trip. They're like 40 minerals a trip. They're 300 minerals every mule. So honestly, an effective weapon, especially in TVT, if you have a cloaked Banshee, or if you have a cloaked Banshee or cloaked unit, you can literally just bait out the scans, because the Terran player has to decide whether he wants to use scan, extra supplies. He should never use extra supplies if he's good, but if he has the scan or sweep and he has the call down the mule, if you bait out a sweep, yeah, he gets to see your unit, but he's losing 300 minerals every time you bait out that sweep. So it's actually a valid strategy to bait out scans instead of letting them mule, because they lose 300 minerals every time that they use a scan instead of a mule. Anyways, fix that problem in my chat, because there's 2 little pieces of lovely human flesh being so nice about my casting. We see a bunker going up, so we can see the Terran player is being very defensive. The Protoss player built a proxy pylon. I don't agree with the placement, because you know that the Terran player is going to take a third relatively quickly, because he's doing a mech type build. He needs those extra gases. He's easily going to hold this rush with that bunker. Bunker is easily going to shut down this rush. Like I said, the Protoss player, knowing this build, because he's played this build on this map before, he should have known that he could have gone Nexus first, but he didn't, so I digress from that point of view. He's doing a 4-gate build, so he's going to basically do a push here. He's going to warp in here and try to push, but with Zealots he could do it. Zealots do a lot more damage. He needs more Zealots, which he does have Zealots in the way. If he moved right now, literally, attack right, he needs to move right as, when these units finish, he needs to attack. He can cause damage if he attacks right then. But the longer he waits, the more Hellions we're going to get out. Oh no, Widow Mines. Oh god, Widow Mines are really going to shut down this harass. He needs to attack. You have these units here. Go! You have the units. You need to attack now. Nope, it's over. It's no longer going to work. He has the Widow Mine out. And a Banshee. And a second bunker going down. It's just things that Platinum players could do better. That's going to blow up some of those Stalkers, cause some splash damage. He's still going to be able to cause a lot of damage here. He's going to have to pull a lot of drones to stop this. So we might be able to see he needs to target fire that Banshee. He needs to target fire that Banshee. And what he needs to do is he needs to make sure he gets away from these Widow Mines. Make sure you get away. Target fire. He needs to target fire this bunker. Well, he killed the drone. Oh, you need to get away from them. Okay. Push your advantage. You need to get past this Widow Mine, though. He can't really get any reinforcements in. He's going to leave these Widow Mines here because these Widow Mines will kill the reinforcements. He has another Widow Mine set up here, and he has Helibats, which will destroy the Zealots in the position they're in. Look at those Zealots fall so quickly. He needs to break that hole and get through into the main base. He needs to get some reinforcements in, but like we said, it's going to be very hard for him to get these reinforcements in. Oh, he needs to not engage these Helibats with the Zealots. He's just gonna lose his Zealots. He needs to be target firing these. He needs to pull back now. He needs to pull back before these get burrowed. I think he's gonna lose. He is gonna lose those Stalkers. Oh, he's gonna lose not one but two of them. He could have kept all three of those alive. He does have some more Stalkers coming in. This is looking good for the Protoss player, but I think Terran players are still going to be able to hold him. And actually what we're seeing here is that exactly what I was talking about earlier, is that you can cut drones. He only has, he only has one base of drones here. They actually have equal number of drones. After he killed off the natural, they have equal number of drones. So, a little odd. This is not a good position for these Stalkers to be in. He does not have Blink, so he doesn't want to be in a position where these Hellbats could come up here and surround him so that he can't escape. He can kite these. He can kite these Hellbats. I'm pretty sure he can kite these Hellbats. He's doing it now. He needs to constantly be. He's exploding 1,000 minerals. He needed to constantly be warping it. He could end the game. He could have had a better chance to end the game if he continued to warp in. But instead, I don't think he's going to have a chance now. There are too many Widow Mines in place and too many Hellbats for him to push. Now what the Protoss player needs to do is that, realizing that he just had a good attack, he needs to build another. He needs to build a Nexus. He needs to expand behind this attack and then just continue to deny this expansion, which is what he's doing. He's denying this expansion. He's denying the Terran player the ability to expand. Don't walk near the Widow Mines. Oh, the Widow Mines. The Protoss player really needs to expand behind this. And if he would have done a better job on continuing to warp in units constantly, he probably should have ended the game there. But now there's too many Widow Mines out in play. He doesn't need, he shouldn't be attacking anymore. Losing those Stalkers was not useful. He should have left the Stalkers here, attacked that, forced it to fly back, and then pulled out when all the Hellbats and things got here. You really need... You cannot use... If you warp in units constantly, you can only use 4 warp gates per base. He now has 6 warp gates on a single base worth of drones, and he only has 16 out of 24. He doesn't even have full saturation at this one base. Like I say, if you're going, and he has full chrono boost, by the way, as well. You need to make sure you're using those chrono boosts on everything, even if you're using it on your warp gates. When you were doing that 4 gate and you had your shit in his base, what you should have been doing is warping in units. You see, he is taking his Nexus now. It's just things like this that differentiate players. And I'm not trying to be mean to him. It's very hard to think of these things in game, but it's the quickness with what you do this, with how you do this, that differentiates a higher league player from a lower league player. It's like, I thought of him doing a Nexus. He thought of expanding as well, but he should have done it 30-40 seconds beforehand. His Nexus should have been finished a long time ago. And he should have had the necessary drones up here, which he should be chronoing, by the way. But he should have had the necessary drones up here where he can just go, hey, I'm grabbing half of these fuckers and sending them down here, and then have almost full saturation immediately. He's now chronoing, so he's now using his chrono. But anyways, like I was trying to say, which he can no longer attack this. But when he was warping in units, he should have warped in as many units as possible, and then he should have chrono boosted all these warp gates, because that'll make the cooldown for warp gate return faster, so that he can warp in more units faster and faster and faster. That's an astronomer's epitaph, by the way. We've loved the stars far too fondly to be afraid of the night. I don't remember the exact wording, but close enough. I like this, that he has a zealot and then he has a pylon at the other base, so he knows whenever the Terran player takes his third, which the Terran player now is floating 700 minerals, so the Terran player should be working on taking his third base, but he's kind of scared that the Protoss player might come with another all-in. He's also microing all these Banshees and causing a shitload of damage right now. If he has Cloak, this might cause even more damage, even though the Observer is here. Does he have another? I'm surprised the Terran player doesn't have another command center on the way. He should really be looking into taking a third. He is going to take a third. He's going to take it after our Teal player used F2, which is the current select all army unit buttons. So he, oh yeah, Rhage. This is going to be like a 50-minute match, dude. Probably. My brain already hurts from casting this many games, but good God, this really is. I have to give more props to Day9 and Artosis and stuff, because like this really does wear you out casting a couple. I mean, I cast a couple of games. Those guys cast an entire series of games. We see that the Terran player double expanded, so he took his third and his fourth, which he can afford to do with his Widow Mines right now. But yeah, now he has his thing over here. He sees it. He should be going in there. He should go in there and kill that. Yes, there you go. There we go. So, 10, 15 seconds a little bit later than he could have, essentially done that. Wow, the Terran player is getting very greedy. He's taking 3 bases at the same time. When you see this as a Protoss player, you either have to build yourself another base or all in. That's the 2 things I see from Rhage's point of view that he could do. He either has to all in right now, finish the game, which he can't do, by the way. He can't. Or he needs to build a third. So he really should be taking his third as well. And since he is scared of this mech army, the mech army is slow, I would be taking it, you see where my mouse is down here, I would be taking a concave away from the Terran player. You don't want to move towards a mech player because mech armies, as you see, are very, very strong when they're in an entrenched position. He needs to pull back his army. He already lost too much. He should have pulled that back a little bit early, and he should have sent the Observer over first. And, oh god, he's losing to the Widow Mines. He needs to, make sure you kill that Widow Mine. With this Observer out, he needs to get the Observer speed upgrade, which I don't believe he has the robotics facility yet, and keep the Observer in front of his army so that he can snipe these Widow Mines without taking any damage. I believe he didn't. Oh, he doesn't have any Stalkers. I believe Stalkers outranged him as well. As you see, he's going to walk through 2 Widow Mines without even noticing it. Oh, he got through that Widow Mine. No, he did not. He lost a sentry there that he didn't have to. He's going to lose another sentry. 2 sentries there. He lost all of his sentries. That's a shitload of gas. Each sentry is 100 gas that he just lost, and he lost, I think, 3 or 4 sentries there. He needs to make sure that this Observer is in front of his army, so they need to be on different control groups. This is why I like to keep my army on 1 and 2, so I'd have like my Observer on 2 and my army on 1, or vice versa, and I would tell the Observer to stay constantly ahead of the army, since Widow Mines no longer attack Observers. They used to kill Observers, but now they don't, so he should be able to scout these and then move in with the Stalkers and Immortal and kill them before the Zealots move in. And then the Widow Mines are essentially useless if he does that. We now see that the player has Thors and Hellbats out, so Zealots aren't going to be good against these Thors, and his ground army really is, no matter what he does on the ground, it's not going to be very good against tanks. And what is unfortunate here is he's got these mass planetaries. Now we're going to see like 3 planetaries go down, or the Terran player's just mass orbiting. The Terran player has scans, so he can scout whenever he wants, whatever he wants, which is kind of annoying, but that, it was even around in the StarCraft 1. See, he just scanned both bases. He knows exactly the tech path that this player is going. He knows that he doesn't have a robotics facility, so we're not going to see any Colossi. He could push in and end the game if he just keeps moving his tanks forward slowly. We are going to see these Banshees go around and attack the main mineral line, but the main mineral line isn't going to be here. Rhage is in Platinum League, by the way, copy. And Sebastian is in Diamond League as random, and his Protoss is his main, Terran is his weakest, but he plays Terran mech, and he plays it very, very well. He has a very refined mech build order, and mech is very hard for people to take. But Terran is his weakest link. I've seen Sebastian beat Master League player with his Protoss. His Protoss is very good. His Protoss is probably Master League level, while his Zerg and Terran are what's holding him down. But Rage is going to have a tough time regardless because I'm going to return to the game for a second. Rage was going to have a tough time regardless because his Terran is mech style, which is something that Protosses aren't used to, and even most Zergs are not used to having to deal with mech that often because most people don't want to do it over Bioball. Bioball's faster, it's more movement. You know, with mech you really have to do a lot of stuff. You have to make sure these tanks, and you really should split these tanks. You really should have like one tank here, one tank over there. But you don't deal with mech a lot, and I think that's what makes it very hard for players to deal with, is because it's very, very strong when used correctly. He knows how to use it correctly, and it's not something you see a lot, so you don't get a lot of practice stopping it. So anyways, our best of 5, I guess is what we're going to call it, went to our Terran player, went through Sebastian. I'm surprised the game lasted that long. Usually Sebastian doesn't try to end the games as quickly as possible, but he did that. He did there. He saved us from having to go into a 50-minute match and, me blowing my brains out while trying to stream it. Yes, it is. It's 3-0. Rage, you gotta remember to keep your observer in front of your army, man. But you had a chance to win that game. You really did. When you did the 4-gate, you were in his base. If you would have been chronoing your warp gates so you could warp in more units, you would have had a better chance to finish that. Also, you could have just attacked him a little bit early before he had any Widow Mines out, and then you would have lost nothing when you pushed the original ramp. But it's all under the bridge now. Alright guys, that's it for tonight. My voice is feeling raspy. I think I'm talking like Gabby, guys. No, I'm just kidding. But really. And I hope you enjoyed my cast. I hope they were educational in a way. I know I'm not, the greatest player at this game, but it's a lot easier to look at a game and to criticize what people are doing than it is to play it. It's a lot harder to do it in practice than it is to theory craft it. I will definitely say that with StarCraft. As you can see, both these players are playing around 200 APM. 200 APM with Protoss is pretty good. So, sounds like I have a dick in my mouth. Actually, the dick was in my ass, but it was like, it's such a big dick that it was like hitting the back of my mouth and it was like blocking the air from getting up. That's what it was on mod. Come on, dude. So, good night. Have a good night. Thanks for watching, guys. And hopefully this was